tonight. So your call airs every day from 10 to 11 a.m. on 91.7. It's a call-in show, and we've been focusing on a lot of the issues we're going to talk about tonight. We recently did shows about solutions to homelessness. We looked at how Utah is actually housing the homeless. What a concept. We also talked about global capital and all of the overseas investments that are coming into San Francisco. So you're getting these high rises downtown are being bought like that, and almost 80% of them are being bought by people overseas who are not living in them. I have a friend who actually works in one of these places. We are putting together shows about transportation. All of this housing is being built. How are people supposed to get around public transportation? We're going to do a show about boot camp for renters. There's a really great group that's doing these boot camps in cafes around the city, and they've been shocked at the level of participation. And they find that the #1 reason why people are getting evicted is because they don't know their rights. They're intimidated, they don't know what's happening, they leave willingly. This happened to my neighbor. And so it's information that everybody needs. And then I also want to do a show about land trusts, because that's something else that people need to learn about. So again, if you have a question, please grab a card and then write it down and we'll grab it, and I will do my best to ask the question. Our guests are going to speak for a bit, and then we're going to have a free-flowing Q&A. So first, I would like to introduce one of our guests, favorite guests. Tim Redmond is editor of 48hills.org. It's an online alternative daily newspaper. I hope you can check it out. If you want to know what's happening in your backyard, check out 48hills.org. Tim has been a political reporter in San Francisco for more than 30 years, much of that time at the Bay Guardian. Tim.
I only have 9 minutes, and I have trouble with 9 minutes, but I'll try to make it work brief. Yeah, 10 minutes, okay. Thank you very much for coming and listening. We have a lot of things to, what? Louder.
Stand up.
Stand up. I can stand up and I can talk really loud. That isn't really a problem. Can everybody hear me now? All right. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about that are going on this fall. When I was asked to talk about the state of where progressives are in local politics, there's a million things I could say, but I spent most of the day today sorting out the fallout from what happened at the Democratic County Central Committee last night. I don't know if any of you were paying attention to this. This is the Democratic Party, the elected arm of the Democratic Party that's supposed to speak for the Democratic Party in San Francisco. Last night, they rejected a very moderate, mild, reasonable resolution about police reform and Black Lives Matter. Nothing radical, nothing, lock all the cops out. It was very, very modest. That was rejected by a vote of 13 to 10 at the Democratic Party of San Francisco, and replaced with a resolution that congratulates the SFPD on its modern 21st century policing. Right? That's where we are right now. We got, in other words, a lot of work to do. Let me talk first a little bit about the mayor's race, because there are two candidates here who are going to be talking to you. We do not have an unopposed mayor's race, as the press normally says. It's not unopposed. There are people running for mayor. 2 of them are sitting here, and they will talk to you about their platforms. And I'm really glad that you're both running. I believe that people ought to run for office, and that we shouldn't have this kind of non-democracy that we've seen way too often in mayoral races in San Francisco. But I think that my colleagues on the panel here are know full well, and are going to come to realize more in the next few months, how hard it is to mount a credible campaign for mayor that can actually win in a city where the major newspapers and TV stations are not going to cover you, where the only way that you can get that message out citywide is with a tremendous amount of money or with a tremendous amount of existing name recognition. It's interesting, I was thinking about this. The last time San Francisco elected a mayor who was not already a prominent public figure was 1967, when we elected Joe Alioto, who was an antitrust lawyer. Since then, all the mayors have been either a state senator, a supervisor, a state assembly member, in one case a police chief, and then in the case of Ed Lee, somebody who had been a city bureaucrat and who was appointed to the job first. Right? So we don't have a history in San Francisco of electing Mike Bloombergs or Rahm Emanuels, or like people who just come from the outside. And even though Bloomberg was a billionaire and used his own money, in San Francisco that hasn't worked. People who've decided they're going to run for mayor just because they're rich, that hasn't worked either. It tends to be people who are already pretty well known to a lot of the voters. And it's hard to get well known to a lot of the voters in San Francisco without a lot of money. So why are my colleagues over here, who I gather don't have $1 billion in the bank, and are struggling to run a grassroots campaign, Why is that such a challenge, and why are they the only ones with the courage to enter this race? Well, that's a really important thing to understand about San Francisco right now. I have spoken to several people who were prominent elected officials who were thinking about running for mayor. And what they said to me was, we saw what Ron Conway did to David Campos. Why would we go through that? There's a level of fear out there, and one of the things that the Ed Lee administration has done, and the tech influx, the tech oligarchy in San Francisco has done, is created a climate of fear in the political community. Right? If you mess with the mayor, there's a guy who can raise $5 billion blinking an eye, who will do everything that he can to crush you. And he has made that clear. And when David Campos tried to run a campaign against the establishment for state assembly, they did that. They did every kind of nasty personal attack you can imagine. I lived in that district, some of you did. You saw the stuff that came out. And they were doing two things. One was they were saying, we want David Chu because he's more like us. The other thing they were saying is, don't dare mess with us, because this is what's going to happen to you. All right? So there's that climate of fear. Now, the mayor is considered very popular. If you look at the polls, everyone says the popular Ed Lee. But it's really important, and I hate to say, most of my colleagues in the political press, most political reporters don't know how to read a poll. Right? They look at the top line. Approval rating is high. Approval rating is down. Approval rating is up. You see all these White House polls, right? That's not what's going on. Right? Lots of people think the mayor is a good guy. And he's a decent guy. I know the mayor, I don't know him well, but I talk to him all the time. I go to these things. He's a decent guy. Unlike some previous mayors who we've had who were very elitist snobs and wouldn't even, he talks to people, and he, used to drive a cheap car, and he lives in a little house in Glen Park, and people say, oh, Ed's a good guy. All right? I used to hear the same thing, by the way, about Ronald Reagan. He seems like a good guy. Ed may be a good guy, but when you ask people, do you like his policies? Do you like what is happening to the city right now? The numbers flip. The vast majority of people in San Francisco don't like what is happening to the city right now. So, what we need to do as progressives this fall and into the spring, and God knows somebody's got to run for Democratic County Central Committee so we can turn that messed up body around. For those people who believe in the Democratic Party, this is not a non-election. And the message I want to send you is this is not a non-election. There are very important things on the ballot, as well as the mayor's race, that will give you a chance to weigh in on what you think, not of Ed Lee the person, but of the policies that Ed Lee and his cronies have put in place in San Francisco. Okay? It is known. How many of you are renters in this room? Most of everybody in this room. How many of you wake up in the middle of the night worrying about being evicted? Right? Most of you. Because that's the fear. That people live in fear. That the politicians are in fear of Ron Conway. The rest of us are in fear that we're going to have to leave the city because we're going to be evicted. All right? And that's a very real, this is an unsettled city, right? People are not happy with the way things are going. They see great wealth being created, they don't see it being spread around. Okay? So how do we say something about that, other than voting for one of these two candidates for mayor? Which, while I think is a fine idea, we all know the overwhelming likelihood is, given the world we live in right now, Ed Lee is going to be re-elected the next mayor. All right? That's just the reality of it. So what do we do? Well, there's actually a referendum on the Ed Lee administration going on this fall, and it is not the mayor's race, right? I mean, it is the mayor's race too, but it's beyond the mayor's race, right? One of those issues is the Airbnb initiative, right? The Airbnb initiative is extremely important, in part because I believe in regulating the tech revolution. I believe that Uber and Lyft and Airbnb and all of these other companies, these innovative companies, need to be regulated just like everybody else. They need to follow the same rules. And Airbnb is not. It is decimating housing stock all over the city. Tommy can talk better about that than I can. This is a real problem. It's not the person who a few nights a year rents out a spare bedroom to a visitor who they want to meet from another country, or somebody who, during the summer goes away for 2 weeks. It's people who are buying up entire properties, Elizabeth evicting all the tenants and turning them into hotels, right? And it's happening all over the city. People don't like this. People don't like it in the Mission, but they also don't like it in Westport. And they don't like it in the Sunset. And they don't like it in west of Twin Peaks. And there's a lot of neighborhoods across the city. Ed Lee is a huge fan of Airbnb. Ron Conway is a big investor in Airbnb and has skin in this game. If Airbnb in San Francisco is not stopped, but regulated, it's going to cost Ron Conway money. And Ed Lee is on the other side, very clearly. He is on the other side of that Airbnb initiative. The second one is the Mission Moratorium. Right? The Mission Moratorium is, if you aren't familiar with this, the Mission Moratorium falls in my mind like the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. Right? The mission moratorium is about, let's not wreck things any more than we already have. Let's take a breather. I got it, 2 minutes. Let's take a breather and try to figure out a better way to preserve this neighborhood. All right? That is something that the mayor has not supported and is not going to support. Right? The third is District 3. Right? District 3, whatever you think of Aaron Peskin, some of you may have liked him as a supervisor, some of you may not have liked him. I didn't always agree with Aaron. Aaron Peskin versus Julie Christensen is a referendum on Ed Lee's administration. Absolutely 100%. It's also will change the balance of power on the Board of Supervisors. I've been watching the Board of Supervisors meetings the last few months, and it's 6 to 5, 6 to 5, 6 to 5, on everything. On all the land use stuff, on all the bad stuff, it's 6 to 5 the wrong way. District 3 would shift that, and they know it. So a lot of money is going in to keep Aaron Peskin from winning. That is a referendum on the mayor. So those three things are. The fourth one that you need to be aware of is there's this measure that PG&E put on the ballot to screw up Clean Power SF. It's called, whatever, it's about, telling you what the city's doing. It's nonsense. It's put on by PG&E. The mayor ought to be out there today opposing this, raising money against it. It's his Clean Power SF. It's the city. It's his city that's getting screwed up by this. I have not heard word one out of the mayor's office. I have not seen a dollar raised by the mayor in opposition to PG&E, because this is the mayor who went out there a couple years and said, PG&E is a great company. It is a great local company, like Airbnb is a great local company. So we should bow and give fealty to all of these people. So, this fall, if you want to work on one of the campaigns for mayor of two of the people who are in the room here, that's great. But there are other ways also to express your feelings about the mayor, and it's Airbnb, the mission moratorium, D3. These are going to be close. These are going to be very close races, all of them. They're all going to be really important. And if we can say this fall, in what is going to be a low turnout election, 6,500 votes will change District 3. That's what we did. 6,500 votes will elect the next supervisor and determine the balance of power on the Board of Supervisors. That's not a lot. That's people knocking on doors. Right? We can do this, and if we can do this, we can send a message very loud and clear, even if we are not looking at either of my two colleagues here in the mayor's office, unfortunately, next year. We will still have the ability to say, we have made a statement in San Francisco that the way things are now is not acceptable.
Measure is going to be on the ballot in November?
It is qualified. PG&E's union, IBEW 1245, raised the money and put this on the ballot. They were paying up to $4 a signature to get this thing on the ballot. People were coming from all over the state. Signature gatherers were coming from all over California. And they were lying to people. They're saying this ensures accountability for government. And when you pay $4 a signature and you have unlimited money, things get on the ballot.
I was happy to see two young people on Valencia registering people to vote, which is great. But you're right, I'm afraid we're going to have low voter turnout again, but hopefully not. Thank you, Tim.